was mentioned in several shows like The Cosby Show. I forget what else it was in. But the corporation that bought St. Elsewhere in the final season also owned the prison in Oz, which Tom Fontana was producers on both those shows.
That's one I would file under lazy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or cool, because like I do this shit myself. It's fun to just, if you have things that you go to, it's fun to pepper them in and say, hey, that's my unique brand or
your Easter egg.
Yeah. Okay, so that's kind of cool. I'll roll that back. I won't call them lazy. It might be cool. I haven't actually seen Oz or St. Elsewhere, so I'll reserve judgment.
Me either, really.
Okay. So that brings us to props. And one focal point of my research was Morley Cigarettes. Morley Cigarettes appears first in Psycho.
I had no idea.
Yeah. The Twilight Zone, The X-Files, Friends, a 2020 episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, and even Seinfeld. Yeah, so several brands used a lot and crossover into other works, like Acme.
Oh, yeah.
The OG, from Looney Tunes.
Right, yeah.
It almost became like a running gag.
Oh, definitely.
Oceanic Air, Heinzler Beer, and Let's Chips. Have you ever seen Let's Chips?
No, I haven't heard any of those.
I'm going to get into that.
Okay, good.
You've seen Let's Chips.
Okay.
It might be Let's Potato Chips. It's made to look like Lay's.
Oh, okay.
Morley has been used for 60 plus years in TV, film, and video games.
Wow.
Actually, I might be able to update that because it's an older article, I believe. So let's say 70 plus years in TV, film.
Yeah.
So Morley Cigarettes is made by Earl Hayes Press, and they're a 100-year-old prop house. They supply many fake brand props to Hollywood, and they're the main supplier of Morley's. Morley's resemble Marlboro in package. They have the standard red and white look, and I think that's
recognizable.
Yeah, it's meant to be. So the 1950s was the age of product placement. Even shows that we now think of being very wholesome, such as I Love Lucy. Lucy says, quote, "Have you tried Philip Morris lately?" End quote.
Well, you remember the Alfred Hitchcock, he would do it, and the Twilight Zone, I think. They would do a little commercial before they went off into their thing.
Oh, really?
Like,
okay.
This was brought to you by so-and-so or whatever.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, and lots of movies would also cross-promote. And if a show wasn't sponsored, it would use a fake brand. Enter Morley Cigarettes. And in 1998, the Master Settlement Agreement banned tobacco advertising in TV and film, and it paves the way for more demand for Morley. I remember that being a pivotal point because specifically at that point, with Dad watching a lot of NASCAR and stuff, I remember that they had to stop advertising tobacco products.
Yes.
No more Joe Camel.
Right.
And stuff like that. So I do remember that point specifically in time. Mm-hmm. And I could see how it would, make the way for this stuff. And at the end of the 90s, the X-Files villainous character played by William Davis, the cigarette smoking man, repopularized Morley. So the reasons not to use real brands, from a producer's standpoint, it's a big risk in our litigious society today. You have to be afraid of lawsuits if you paint it in a good light or something. And on the opposite side of the spectrum, after a study was done around that time, it's usually villains that are the cigarette smokers.
Yes.
And brands didn't want to be associated with that.
And I believe it's Apple iPhone. The villains are allowed to use Apple iPhones.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I think there's really only one good reason, or I could only think of one good reason to not use a fake brand, and that it pulls you out of the fiction.
Right.
Especially now that you know. Sorry, maybe not sorry. Because now I'm going to see it.
Yeah.
And everything. And a certain part of me does like that, because being into production and stuff, I find that stuff fascinating, but I can see how it can take you out of the fiction.
Well, the first thing that popped in my mind was Duff Beer.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, Homer.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. And it's so funny because I guess I don't even think of that as being a fake brand anymore, but I don't even think anybody did that. Like, I'm going to mention Letterkenny later, that they came up with their own beer brand, but somebody very quickly made one.
Oh, okay. I don't know if Duff Beer became a brand.
I don't think so, which is kind of cool because I still think of it as being a real beer brand.
Yeah, me too.
So other than Morley's Cigarettes, the other big one that I found was Let's Potato Chips. Notable to me are the first few, as they're shows I've seen and maybe even noticed. So you have It's Always Sunny, Arrested Development, and Community. I definitely remember them in Community. And it was almost like they did it on purpose. Mm-hmm. They were kind of the ones that let you see the bag, and it kind of like broke the fourth wall, I think.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Oh, I love Community. But from there, I'm just going to fire off as many of these names as I recognize, because there's a lot. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, 1,000 Ways to Die, Two Broke Girls, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Big Time Rush, Chicago PD, Criminal Minds, Cougar
I watch it all
Town.
the time. I never remember seeing a chip with that.
Okay.
Oh, look now.
Yeah.
You were at Cougar Town, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I don't recognize some of these, so I'm just picking the ones that I know, and I apologize. I'm skipping over some on the list. There's always references in the notes if people want to see any of these lists. They are daunting.
I don't recognize a lot of them myself either.
Everybody Hates Chris. Everybody Loves Raymond. The Flash. Gilmore Girls. Grey's Anatomy. How to Get Away with Murder.
Wow.
The Middle. The Mindy Project. My Name is Earl. Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. New Girl. Orange is the New Black. Skins. Sons of Anarchy. Terminator. The Sarah Connor Chronicles. Ugly Betty. The Vampire Diaries. iCarly. Drake and Josh. Workaholics. Cuphead's Adventures, which I don't know if there was a TV show based on it, but I'm pretty sure that's a video game.
Oh, okay.
Victorious. Wizards of Waverly Place, Good Girls, Zoe 101, Muppets Now, and Modern Family. As I mentioned, I love when shows come up with their own. Like, I'm glad you mentioned Simpsons, because I forgot about that. The one that came to mind for me was Letterkenny. They made up the fictitious beer Puppers with an adorable doggo label. Shortly after their first or second season, a microbrewery opened up with the name and started brewing Puppers.
That's cool.
Locally, too. I think it was like near where they were filming. So now those bottles are featured on the show.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So there's some ties. Obviously, they might be a little loose, but fun.
Yeah.
But there's some objections.
Yes, in 2004, a professor of philosophy, Brian Weatherspoon, developed 6 objections to the Tommy Westphall theory. Number 1 is dreaming never really works. Number 2, dreaming sequence doesn't work. The St. Elsewhere ending could have had many different interpretations. For example, Tommy could have dreamed his dad was a construction worker, and the family friend that passed away from a heart attack turned into a family member. Number 3, the one from Moore. using Friends and Joey as an example. Events in Friends took place in a different location than in Joey. They should all take place in the same location.
Aha.
Number 4, charity. St. Elsewhere producers decided the show was a dream. The producers of other shows did not agree to that. Number 6, daydreams. Just because you dream something doesn't mean it's not real. Number 6, day fiction. 2 shows in the same locales does not mean they take place in the same universe. For an example, New York City.
Yeah, that's a stretch.
One of the producers of St. Elsewhere, Tom Fontana, preferred an apocalypse-type event as the season finale. It would have been set in 2013 and involved a toxic cloud as a result of a corporate war between foreign factions. He went on to produce Homicide, Life on the Street, and Oz for HBO.
That's interesting. I watched a YouTube video leading into our show today on the Tommy Westphall Universe, and the guy that presented it made it really interesting and easy to follow, and that was a lot of my reference material for this show, or at least my starting point. And one of the top comments cracked me up because it said, fast forward to 2021, the snow globe breaks and a pandemic invades the hospital.
That's funny.
And the show begins again.
Wow. I like that kind of creativity.
Yes. And I would like to see that.
Yes.
So I guess we're on the same page with that. I love when people tie universes together creatively. And I know we sat down today to talk about this fan theory in particular, and it is a lot of fun to discuss, but I think when you have to suspend belief so much for some of these, it gets hard.
Right.
But it is fun.
I prefer the Stephen King way, where he just has little Easter eggs in each. You know, if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't.
Yeah. It can be well done. And I think some of these cases here that make it a really compelling argument is it is really well done.
Right.
You have to look up the fact that Tom Fontana made that company that...
They bought the prison, or
right.
The prison?
Yeah. So yeah, it's fascinating. I love it. It's a unique look into pop culture and a new viewpoint that I haven't had before. So I hope it was fun doing research
fun, yes.
and doing your first podcast, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, and I hope everyone else had fun. And if you're interested in any of this stuff, check it out. It's a fun rabbit hole.
Yes, lots of stuff on YouTube.
Again, sorry, not sorry. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.